G'day and welcome to another video with Better Pics. Hope this finds everyone well. Today's video will be looking at my workflow for creating black and white images within Adobe Lightroom. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos that I've talked about creating black and white images with Lightroom Classic and Adobe Camera Raw, I now use a fully raw workflow for creating my black and white images, even though you can do it in programs like Photoshop. The main reason that I go for a completely raw workflow is you're incorporating the raw flexibility or the flexibility of digital negatives or raw images within your workflow when you're converting to black and white. And thankfully, those tools to be able to turn to a black and white in Lightroom, Lightroom Classic and Adobe Camera Raw are there. So it makes the process really quick and easy while still having that flexibility. It's always that flexibility and control within your image processing that is good to go after, because it will ultimately give you the best possibility of achieving the look that you're wanting to with your images. Alright, so as you can see, we are in Adobe Lightroom. This is an image that I photographed in Nepal a number of years ago. If we just have a look at the information there, you can see it was shot on a Fuji X-T2 using the 18-135 24 megapixel camera. It was 1/320th of a second at f8, 200 ISO. Focal length of 93 millimeters, and this was a street scene in Kathmandu in Nepal where I was working at the time. All right, let's get into the detail and editing. First thing that we're going to do is convert it over to black and white, and there's two ways that you can do that. You can either hit the black and white just under edit, so converts your photos to black and white, as you can see, or you can go to the profile Adobe Monochrome. Both options achieve exactly the same thing, so what we're going to do today is go to black and white. Alright, so immediately you can see that the image is converted, and now we still have all of those same options for editing, and I'm going to go through those very quickly for you. Alright, we're just going to increase our contrast. Really the subject for this image is the gentleman on the bicycle in the middle of the road there. This was photographed first thing in the morning, and you can see the town starting to wake up, and the normal sort of daily activity or daily life is starting to happen. You know, there's deliveries happening, there's people walking to what might be prayer or their work or whatever it may be. And this gentleman is, obviously, as I said, the main subject of the image, just in that sort of shaft of light down the main road. He's obviously backlit, and I love this beautiful rim lighting, which just helps to really cement him as the main focus of the image. All right, so just increase that contrast a little bit. I'm just going to drop those highlights a little bit. I just really want to make sure I maintain that wonderful texture in the road. Excellent, and we're just going to come down a little bit as well. Now, obviously the temperature and tint does make some adjustments to the image, but not in the usual way that it would. So we can use it still, even though it's obviously not giving us that shift in color temperature or tint. But if it results by making those adjustments in getting us closer to what we want to achieve with the image, then fantastic. All right, I'm just going to add a little bit of clarity to this as well. What I love about this image is the textures that are in the image. So obviously the texture of the city and the road and everything that's going on. So I just want to add a little bit of clarity so that we can really enjoy that. I don't want to dehaze it because I like that there's a slight bit of something in the air, more than likely a bit of pollution, but it certainly adds to, that texture of the image. I'm going to apply a usual amount of sharpening, which for this image isn't a huge amount, and I'm going to, by pressing Alt, you can see that we can, it changes the image so that the white areas are the areas that sharpening is being applied to, and the black areas are the areas that it isn't. So this is just a method of pushing down the Alt button and playing with that masking just to see exactly where that sharpening is being applied to. Not a great deal of noise, so we're not going to apply any noise for this image. Chromatic aberration, not really an issue, obviously, because we've converted to black and white, but by default in camera for my X-T2, that's already applied. All right, nothing else down there that we really want to look at. But what I want to do is a little bit of selective lightening and darkening, or dodging and burning as it used to be called. And I'm going to do that through masking, so which you can see on the right-hand side here. So if I just select that, and I'm going to use the brush, just because that's the normal method that I would use for applying selective lightening and darkening. So I'm just going to reduce that size a little bit. I'm going to keep the feather up fairly high because I like it to be a softer kind of application, for want of better words. And you can see as we paint that on, I'm just wanting to darken those outsides a little bit. You can see as we paint on, it creates that coloured area that indicates where exactly the brush is being applied to. So you can see we have that option to show overlay or only have it appear when we're hovering over the actual image. And we've also got all the settings down here around the way that appears. All right, we're just going to drop that exposure just a tiny bit. You can see I'm really not giving it a great deal. I like to sort of float back and forward on those sliders just to see what is working for the image. And I'm going to add a new mask, again with a brush, and I'm just going to apply that to this section of the road. Again, just to, what we're going to do is darken it a little bit, not a great deal. And what I'm wanting to do is to just really contain that focus with the subject and contain the viewer's eye of the subject of this gentleman on the bike. All right, I'm just going to drop that down ever so slightly. You can see it really is very, very subtle. I'm just going to float back and forwards on that slider so you can see that effect taking place. It really is very, very minor, but just enough to, once again, show that texture in the road, but dampen it down a little bit. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it's really just to drop the exposure of that section of the image. Again, just containing that attention of the viewer on that subject in the middle. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're just going to go back to our normal overall global adjustments. Just increase that contrast a little bit because I just want the image to pop that little bit more. I'm going to go back to my masking and I'm going to create a new mask. Again, a brush. I'm a little bit old school in that I like to do things kind of manually. This, to me, replicates what I used to do in a darkroom. Given that I was a film shooter for many years and I processed and printed images in a darkroom, it feels a little bit more natural and real to the dodging and burning that I used to do there. All right, so you can see I've just selected around the gentleman on the bike, so the main subject, and around him you can see the mask there that I've applied, and I'm just increasing the exposure of him just that little bit more. Again, just to bring that attention and focus to him as the main subject, for want of better words. And I'm pretty happy with that. I am pretty happy with how that is looking. And you can see, the approach that I generally try and take is have the image exposed and captured, framed, as correctly in camera as possible. Well, that's not always possible. There's the reality of situations that are fleeting moments. It's not always possible to have the image appear the way that you want it to appear in camera every time. However, with this image, he was riding fairly slowly. You can see he's slightly uphill incline on the bike, and I had time to frame up the image and really make sure that I got off a few frames and captured the image that I wanted to. And certainly exposure, I'd already been shooting along this street, so my exposure was fairly well set. So everything from that perspective I was happy with, but obviously the conversion to black and white then results in really quite minimal adjustments to to achieve the outcome and the look that I'm trying to go for. So I'm pretty happy with that. So my adjustments and edits, I always try to make only subtle adjustments. I don't want it to be too heavy. I want the image to appear as natural as possible. And really, a lot of the time, it's just getting the image to what I experienced and saw with my own eyes at that particular time, which this definitely does reflect that, obviously, minus the fact that it's in black and white, because I don't see the world in black and white. But for me, black and white is a really powerful way of presenting some images, just to simplify things and really give focus to the subject. So that's my approach for this image in converting to black and white through Lightroom with some minor adjustments. Hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, any questions are welcome below. Hope it's been helpful in understanding a few of the processes that I use for editing images. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much and take care.